Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where two mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now, here are your
Already
hosts,
giving it away.
Darth Jader and Jason Mitchell.
Oop, that's weird.
Our
music cut out.
Oh no.
Do. Anyway,
Yay.
welcome to the show.
Welcome back.
Yay, it's good to be here.
And we're back.
Thank you for coming.
And we are not continuing our disaster thing because I just
Yeah.
actually felt like watching a movie that I had previously watched this weekend. So
He loves
I
aliens.
didn't have to do any work.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Hindsight is Horrifying. I am an host. And
I hate
am,
it when you do that.
I know you
I
did.
hate it so
I know you edit. And I am here
Anyway.
with another host.
I'm the other host, a hostess. I'm Darth Jader. And of course we have,
Adam B.
yes.
And today we are taking a trip back to the most wonderful time in the
The
world.
swinging
The
70s.
1970s.
You guys really like the 70s
Love
for
the 70s.
some reason.
I didn't
out there.
appreciate them enough. I don't think anyone actually
I
appreciated
think
the
you
70s.
were too young to appreciate them, given
Yeah.
the fact that you were born in the last year of the
79, yeah.
70s. Yes.
I was there for almost a year, man.
Yeah.
Come on. I was there for almost a year. That's a long time.
Just in time for one little baby leisure suit. Right?
Yes.
It better have been powder blue. I'm not
Yes.
kidding. All right, I need to see photographic evidence.
No, you don't need to see
Damn it.
any photos of me as a baby. My mother, God love her, wonderful mother, when it comes to clothes and haircuts, she was just awful at it. She was, and I've told her this. I've literally, she told my nephew once, she was giving him advice on a haircut, and I just told her, I said, you need to not do that because you're terrible at
Do
it.
the opposite of that.
Yeah.
See, my mother's ears are ringing somewhere because she's a total fashionista. She's very fashionable, fancy-looking lady, and I am not. So she's pointed that out to me several times.
Are you
in my
not?
life.
I can't tell. That looks fashionable to me.
Oh, okay.
The hat look, I don't know, fashion.
Well, maybe from a girl's perspective, she doesn't see it that way. Who knows? But
Anyway, why don't you tell the ladies and gentlemen what we are watching this week?
yeah, because y'all's decided on it. So what are we watching? Adam?
Can you sing it? Do, 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 do.
Yeah, you have to do the.
Nice.
I was doing that at the
I'm gonna hit
opening
my
in case
little-
you didn't notice.
Yeah.
Hit my little xylophone.
We are doing the 1977 science fiction, possibly one of the greatest science fiction films in the history of science fiction films.
I don't know about
Steven Spielberg's, name one better, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, starring Bob Balaban.
that. And Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes.
Yeah, and Richard Dreyfuss is in it. Francois Truffaut is in it. Terry Garr is in it. Melinda Dillon, who I just love Melinda
There's a
Dillon.
surprising amount of, bigger
Yes.
names in this
Yeah.
project. Well, I mean, it is a Spielberg film.
Well,
so-
it's actually an amazing thing from the very beginning that, hey, it's Francois Truffaut is in the movie.
Yeah.
He's acting in the movie. He's a director. What's he doing in this?
Lance Henriksen, did you spot him? Do you know who that is?
Who is he in this?
At the very end, he's one of the guys.
Is he?
Manning the landing strip.
I'll
yeah.
be damned.
Yeah.
Because I know and we'll get into that, the ending of this movie. And I should stress, I feel like, Darth, I did you a minor disservice because I recommended you watch the same cut of the movie that I watched, which is the special edition.
and about 45 minutes too long.
I disagree with that entirely.
Okay.
That's just
I'm sure we'll have plenty of arguments
well,
about
but
this.
but on that note, though, it did have a different ending, and the differences in the endings between the original cut and this cut is the fact that you get to see inside the spaceship.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
see, and that's the only difference? Like,
There's other
It still
stuff.
ends the
There
same way?
yeah, I mean it ends the same way, but you don't in the original cut of the movie, Richard Dreyfuss, you see his reaction.
I was about to say, we need to go through this because it's such a long movie
let's
that we can do
give a
spoilers
synopsis
early.
of the movie, yeah.
I can find one. That's fine. I think the biggest disservice you did me, besides actually making me watch this long-ass movie, was the fact that you made me watch the version without Carl Weathers.
That is true.
They cut Carl Weathers
Yeah,
on the special edition. Where was he originally?
Carl Weathers played one of the guys who interrogated Nedry. Neary, not Nedry.
Right.
Nedry was Jurassic Park.
So this isn't even a normal synopsis for Google even. science fiction adventure about a group of people who attempt to contact alien intelligence. Roy Neary, Richard Dreyfuss, witnesses an unidentified flying object and even has a sunburn for its bright lights to prove it. Roy refuses to accept an explanation for what he saw and is prepared to give up his life to pursue the truth about UFOs.
That's close.
Yeah, I mean,
it's close.
There's a lot. There's so much going on in this movie.
It's
that
a
you have
very deep, rich, thick story. There's a lot happening in this.
It has a complicated tapestry, if you will.
Well, it does. I mean, it's essentially three stories happening at once, and they all end up together.
They convalesce, but it takes a really long time for that to happen. And that's I know that we've talked about how that's indicative of older movies from the 80s or the 70s where you want to build that character development and really care for your characters. Because I cared about Richard Dreyfuss. I felt so bad for him throughout this movie.
He did have a very pretty wife, though.
Yeah, Terry Garr. Yeah.
They never noticed the pretty girls on this show.
And we'll get into the family sort of
a lot of
stuff
relationship stuff.
That's the weakest part of the movie, in my opinion, and it's the part that Spielberg he said basically that if he made the movie today, that's what would be different, is that he wouldn't have the whole family dynamic because Roy leaves his kids and all this stuff, and
well, I don't. Okay,
yeah.
we were kind of
we
debating
talked
about
about
this. I don't know. I know Roy does leave his kids, and we all know how you feel about that, Jason. You're supposed to be
I'm
responsible.
anti.
Yeah, anti leaving your kids. Yeah. But the thing is, his wife leaves him and takes the children away from him, so she kind of shuts that option off for him. So by the end, when he does board the spacecraft to leave with the aliens, maybe he's just sort of thinking, well, it's not like I have anything to go home to. And I don't
maybe
know.
I'll be back after their teen years.
Yeah.
And then I could reunite with them.
Yeah, just like the other people that
father's
came
dream.
back from the ships and the airplanes that were returned in the deserts.
Well, the movie begins with
In Mexico.
in the Sonora Desert in Mexico, with the discovery of the aircraft from Flight 19, which was a real thing that happened. It was a real flight of TBF Avengers that went down, or they went missing off the coast of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately because of the sort of weird nature of the of what happened, people started saying, "Hey, did something unusual occur here?"
Like Bermuda Triangle kind of stuff.
And
right?
in the 70s, eventually, when the whole Bermuda Triangle thing occurred, as a story, people connected it to that. That wasn't the original opening of the movie, though. This scene right here, which is my favorite scene in the movie, just because of the dialogue in it.
I was
The
about to
air
say,
traffic
I
control
knew-
scene.
I'm sure the two of you really enjoyed that, given the fact that you're obsessed with aircraft.
Well,
and all that.
no, it's not that. It's the fact that it has this talking over each other, fire dialogue.
Very Gilmore Girls, if you will.
Well, and like the Gilmore Girls, none of those people are actors.
Are they all air traffic controllers?
They're all actual air traffic
Yeah.
controllers.
Anyway,
You didn't know
shut
that? Everyone in the Gilmore Girls actually an air traffic controller.
I hate you. Anyway, it is a very snappy, efficient scene, so I can see why you.
But this was the
appreciate it.
original opening.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It was supposed to begin with this, and then Spielberg decided he wanted a more, dramatic, actiony sort of opening. So we had that.
And Spielberg loves aliens. He's a big fan.
This was his second movie.
I thought E.T. came after
About-
this.
No, well, it did.
Okay, what's his other alien movie?
When he was 17 years old, he directed a movie called Firelight, which was about aliens. And I've never seen it. I don't even know if there's
I was about to say,
any
I've
way
never
to
heard of
see
this.
it. Well, he was a kid. He did it on a $500 budget. But when he was making this movie, he actually had his notes from that. I mean, imagine a 17-year-old Spielberg
yeah.
doing notes for his movie. he's
That's
doing.
impressive.
And he still had them. And I think he let some of the people who worked on the movie read his notes to see some of his old thoughts on this. And I thought,
And maybe expand on them or something.
That's really cool.
That is pretty cool. It's like its own living historical
I could talk
document.
about it. I could talk about every moment in this movie.
I'm sure. It wasn't my favorite, I'm not going to lie. But this was the first time I've ever viewed it, so I've got no nostalgia factor involved. Because
You're not a UFO buff either.
that's true.
Yeah, if you're a UFO buff, this movie is like hardcore. This was the peak of UFO movies.
Okay, now see, I wouldn't have. You're right. I wouldn't look at it like that. But I do love this part of the scene where the operations team or whatever you want to call them, control team. What would you call these guys?
Air traffic
air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
So they're,
Indianapolis Center.
they're asking their planes. They're like, "Hey, do you want to make a report on this UFO that you saw?" And they're like, "No, I wouldn't even know how to begin. Like, it just
Well,
I'm out.
the movie is very grounded in what was happening in the UFO community at the time.
Okay.
You know, and these were things that, you know, were bubbling up, these stories that were sort of getting to the surface that, well, you know, pilots see this stuff all the time, but it's just kind of a known thing. If you report it, you're done. You don't ever report one of these things. You don't say you saw it.
You don't want to be sent to the loony bin or
Yeah.
anything like that. Yeah.
And in fact, one of the neat little twists in this movie is that, and I'm sure, Mr. Brown, have you ever heard of Project Blue Book?
I vaguely remember Blue Book.
It was Air Force.
Was there a TV show about
There
it?
was, there was, yeah.
I thought I remember that, yeah.
The Air Force had an official project to investigate UFOs, and that's a whole other thing. The guy in charge of it was a guy named Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and he was sort of this, like, you know, the guru of UFOs
I have
for many
notes on
years.
this, actually.
J. Allen Hynek is actually in the movie.
Oh, really?
At the
Nice.
end of the movie, if you notice, there's one shot of a guy with a goatee smoking a pipe, and he's walking up, looking at the spaceship. That's actually J. Allen Hynek.
I remember
Yeah.
that scene too.
Yeah. So you know, Spielberg was really, you know, he was reaching for the, like, what's really going on out there kind of stuff.
Speaking of Project Blue Book, that's in my notes, where originally the film might have been really different. It was originally called Watch the Skies, and it was kind of a Watergate-ish scandal where they were covering up the existence of aliens. And so it might have been a totally different movie. I mean, the government is still trying to cover up. It's still a pretty different movie. And here we get to Idiot Barry.
All I could think of is, does Jason hate this kid?
I hate
No,
this
I
kid.
love this kid.
I hate this
No,
kid.
I love
My
him.
God.
Oh.
Carrie Guffey. Carrie Guffey, he was almost nominated for an Academy Award for this part, and he would have been the youngest person ever nominated. He was such a good actor. They called him One Take Carrie, and Spielberg actually had a shirt made up and that said that on the shirt because he was so good at doing the movie. And in fact, there was a moment that comes up later on when Richard Dreyfuss, he sees the boy, and the boy is building the Devil's Tower thing out of mud, and Richard Dreyfuss is talking to him. There was a part where Richard Dreyfuss screwed up his line.
Okay.
And Carrie Guffey
He
said,
knew it.
"That's not right." And like everyone on set, like, got all like quiet, you know, like, oh my God, he just
Did he just call out Richard Dreyfuss?
Yeah, and Dreyfuss apparently looked at the script supervisor and said, "Is he right?" And she's like, "Yeah, you flipped the line."
Oh, that's hilarious. You know what that reminds
Hold
me
on,
of?
you see the shirt he's wearing?
Boston.
Boston.
Yeah, I texted you guys about all the Boston references.
And More Than a Feeling was playing in a car, which is
I didn't
the band
notice.
Boston.
I know who they are,
from
but-
the album where the cover had a UFO.
Oh,
on it.
that's
yeah.
it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Connect a lot of dots there.
I actually thought there were more Boston references in this because you see like the paddle, like the frat boy paddle, and it's like it's BSU.
Okay.
Right, like Boston State University.
But
or something.
I looked it up today, and it's actually an Indiana school called Ball State University.
Oh, Ball State.
Ball State, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so,
Because they
but
make some references to
Yeah.
Ball State in this. I didn't understand what that was.
Well, going back
the
to your
Mom from
point,
Christmas Story.
Yeah. Going back to your point about the little kid Barry correcting Richard Dreyfuss, that reminds me of Much Ado on our last rehearsal, and the little girl telling everybody, Jason's our director, and he's giving us all these notes and just, hey, be confident, you all got this, and this little 9-year-old-ish age girl looks at all of these adults around her and is just like, and if you mess up a line, the audience doesn't know any better. Just keep going. And Adam and I were like, sage advice. Thank you. So that just made me flash back to that. I haven't
And if
thought
you
about that
fuck
in a while.
this up,
Right.
Just keep on going.
Yeah. Someone will cover for you.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yes.
So-
But yeah, Barry's a freaking idiot. I couldn't. Not that I'm calling out the kid himself. It's the character that I don't like.
well, see, I don't think
He's
because
impulsive. He's a young
yeah,
child.
and the aliens are very obviously like trying to
Draw
lure
him in. Yeah, they're
you know.
predators. But no, we just missed the signs moment where he runs out into the cornfield from the
Yeah.
white clapboard house.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if the aliens looked at him and felt a certain simpatico, because if you at the end, they're all like little
Yeah,
kids that
yeah.
run around. So I think they can relate to Barry.
Yeah, but I didn't
Lives are
understand.
at stake.
But I didn't see the pattern in the people that they've abducted, because you see all manner of people, children, dogs coming out of the spaceship, and you're like, why did they abduct all these random people? Were they just studying them? Or?
Well, I mean, if you're,
They all had anuses that could be probed.
yeah,
That's really what it comes down to.
that is true. That is true. That is true.
None of them came out.
Off and running, fellas. Off and running. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Melinda Dillon. That's what I.
Yes. So what's
That
your take
lady.
on Melinda?
Oh well, I love her. I have like a weird crush on her. Like, like I don't. It's the more I look at her, the hotter I think she is. It's weird.
I mean, she's a beautiful lady.
Yeah. And Terry Garr, who is a complete bitch in this movie, and the depressing 1970s house.
Yeah.
It's so. My parents had that wallpaper.
It's so 70s it hurts. Yeah.
I mean,
And the kid breaking the doll,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
smashing it to bits.
and just
yeah.
how the parents treated them in general.
And
was
is
so
this their living
70s.
room?
I think so. But it's sort of a weird situation.
Pre-hoarding.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, have either of you watched Mrs. Maisel?
No,
Okay,
I
well,
have
I
not.
have, yeah.
Okay, so you know how Tony Shalhoub has set up his piano and his
Oh, yes.
office in the their formal dining room. That's what this reminds me of, because the dad's got like this huge setup in a place where it's like, get yourself an office, dude. Like this
I
doesn't
don't
belong in
think
the living room.
I don't think
he had it
has.
available.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that was an option for him.
But I mean, he has a job at first, at least, because he does get fired for the whole
Yeah,
alien.
he works for
involvement.
the Department of Water and Power.
Yeah. And why did they fire him? So he does see the alien. We haven't hit that part yet, but he sees the alien or the UFOs at the very least, and then he gets fired. And I don't know if I just didn't pay enough attention, but why did they fire him? Because he was claiming to have seen UFOs?
No, they fire him because when the big power outage occurs,
Oh, he's chasing the UFOs.
He's chasing the UFO.
Oh, okay.
And not doing his
not
job.
doing his job.
That
so
makes
they
sense.
so they fire him, and it's super depressing. it's really
That is.
it's really depressing.
I do kind of like how the parents talk to the kids, though, because Richard Dreyfuss is sitting there, like, and they're arguing about what they want to do for the weekend, between, like, going to see Pinocchio, which is a scarring movie. What parent wants to take their kid to see Pinocchio? Or playing goofy golf, right? And Richard Dreyfuss is like, hey, how old are you? 8. You want to live to be 9?
Yeah.
Cool, then we're going to see Pinocchio. Like
Toby, you are close to death.
And even the mom gets at the end of her cord, because at first she's sort of admonishing Richard Dreyfuss, like, hey, that's not how you bond with your kids.
Yeah,
It's a typical mom
yeah.
thing. But then later they're all in her way, and she's like, everybody get out of the house. Just go out and have a hot dog. Like, I don't care. So that's so 70s.
It's really depressing how his family just melts down over this, which
Yeah,
Spielberg
that was heartbreaking.
Spielberg used that because, again, in the sort of UFO lore, that's a thing that happens to people who see these UFOs, and then they get obsessed with them and they lose their families, and
Right.
And
of course the obvious McDonald's plug.
yeah, this is when when
A lot of-
Boston's playing.
A lot of
Yeah,
big
more than
companies
a
shell.
feeling.
Yeah. Coke paid for some advertising later. Baskin Robbins, like a lot of.
Hey, that's how
big
you make a
companies.
movie.
Yeah, it is.
That's how you make a movie.
And they did it well. It was prominent but subtle.
This is why I love this movie, is scenes like this, which you can't really see because it's too dark. But
Yeah.
the movie has, we talked about it in Volcano last week, where I
Yeah.
liked the first half of Volcano, but then the second half of it, because in the first half it's like this mystery. It's like, what's going on? What's
Right.
going on? Then the second half is just them reacting to it. And it's like, well, who cares?
Yeah,
They're
but
going to
see-
win,
To me, I don't know about that though, because like all that build up, it took forever to get to the point, and then the aliens are. It's like Fire in the Sky. The aliens are barely part of the movie.
Gotta disagree with you there. I mean, you can't watch this scene right here and say, I mean,
No, I'm talking about physically the actual
Yeah.
aliens themselves, not just their UFOs or their spacecraft.
Well,
like, you
but it-
barely see them.
but it's like it's mystery the whole time, because one of the things that's interesting about it is this concept of, are they good? Are they bad?
Yeah.
And you really feel like they're evil the whole movie, because particularly when they kidnap Barry.
Mm-hmm.
One, one of the most terrifying scenes in movie history.
Was
to
it the
me.
screws?
The screws.
Oh, I hated
Scared
it.
the shit out of me.
The screws unscrewing on the vent.
Yeah.
But I like the way they do this. The car pulls up behind and then pulls around, and then something pulls up that looks like another car behind Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of tension, and John Williams did a great job with the music.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course, he does the music in every
built
Spielberg
some
movie.
extraordinary tension in some of those scenes.
He finished the music before the movie was finished. And so Spielberg actually cut the movie to fit the finished music.
Huh.
Yeah.
He's been quoted as saying that he makes a movie and then his editor and John Williams, he's like, I cut a bunch of scenes.
They polish it.
I direct a bunch of scenes and then they turn it into a movie. That's the difference.
Khan was the editor on this one. He was the first time that he had edited one of Spielberg's movies, and of course he went on to do Jurassic Park, Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Right. He's a big
Schindler's List. He did them all. Richard Dreyfuss, and it's amazing. He does such an incredible job of being the main guy in this movie, this everyman who's caught up in this.
Because there were so many options. We've discussed this too. They discussed bringing on Steve McQueen, Gene Hackman, Jack Nicholson, a ton of really heavy hitters, and they all the Pacino. Oh my God!
Imagine.
Say hello to my little UFO. Yeah,
the fucking aliens.
That would have been a different movie altogether. But I think McQueen could have pulled it off. He said,
McQueen would have been amazing.
The only reason he turned it down is that he said it felt like you need to be able to cry on cue to play Roy Neary, and he didn't have that ability. Yeah. So he turned it down.
He had done some sci-fi movies before. Did you know that, Steve McQueen? Can you name the sci-fi movie?
What sci-fi movie did he do? I don't know. The Cincinnati Kid.
The Blob.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he did do The Blob. Yeah. You're right.
Oh, speaking of important movie crossovers, Melinda Dillon was actually recommended to Spielberg because Spielberg was having a hard time casting the part of, and I can never remember her name.
Give me a contextual clue.
Melinda Dillon's character in the movie.
Her name?
Yeah.
Ronnie.
No. That's Terry Garr.
Terry Garr. Did you think when we were saying
Jillian, sorry.
Yeah.
They're both blonde women, whatever.
Yeah. He was having a hard time casting the part, and he spoke to the director of another movie that Melinda Dillon had just been in, and he said, she was great in this movie. You need to see it. Spielberg watched it and was like, yep, that's her. Hired her right away. The movie was, and I always blank on that. I think it's Path to Glory. And it's about Woody Guthrie.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one.
It's a good movie. It's like Woody Guthrie going off and becoming famous and all that stuff. Played by David Carradine.
I hate you both so much.
David Carradine in a role that will surprise you.
Ooh.
Everything about David Carradine surprises me. Okay, everything.
You've learned more about David Carradine in the past 6 months than you ever wanted to know.
David
right?
Podcast. How did this happen? No, that's why I told you when I was watching Dexter, because I was really late to that party, and then of course, who the hell shows up but Keith Carradine? And I was like, I'm haunted by this.
Yes.
I don't know if he or Shivers has a more prominent placement in my brain.
I think it's that phenomenon. Have you ever been thinking about buying like a car, right? So
you start seeing that car
and you start
everywhere.
seeing that car everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe Carradine has a similar effect.
He must.
Maybe there's a
Well, and plus, it all really started because y'all talked about him a little bit on the podcast, but then it really hit fourth gear when Mr. Brown texted me on Thanksgiving last year, and he was like, BoJack Horseman has a David Carradine episode. You've got to watch it. And I was like, I couldn't even pass Thanksgiving without hearing about David damn Carradine.
Bite the lemon.
Yeah, bite the lemon always. But I was going to say something about the wife.
Dreyfuss was in Jaws before this, right?
Yes,
he was.
Yes.
But he looks younger here than he did in Jaws.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe because
he
of
was
facial hair.
Yeah,
I think it's the facial hair.
And plus, he had glasses in Jaws,
right.
and I think he dressed a little differently too. So I think it's a bunch of
that
different
shadow of the spaceship, that was new. They added that for the special edition.
Okay.
Oh, did
I
they?
didn't remember that. And what did Dreyfuss do before Jaws?
Mr. Collins' opus.
Sugarland Express.
Mr.
No,
no,
not Sugar. No, there was another Spielberg film.
Inevitably.
Oh God,
Let's find out.
Yeah, look it up.
So keep talking, and I'll find out.
No, he wasn't in Sugarland Express. He was in a different one. But no, he did other stuff. He by this point he'd become enough of a star that he really wanted to do this movie.
He did The Goodbye Girl in '77 as well. American Graffiti in '73.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
American
There
Graffiti,
we go.
And the other stuff is later.
Oh, that's right.
And we're back.
The boys use the short break to emotionally scar me, which is just their favorite thing to do. So
It's one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of them. We are, of course, still continuing our trip through Muncie, Indiana. Although I think
Yes.
they've just crossed the border into Ohio.
And I love this because they run right through the toll booth and the guy's yelling at them, wait, that's Ohio,
That's
a
a
quarter.
It's a quarter back in
Wow,
the day.
a quarter. Oh, but yeah. Speaking of money, though, so Dreyfuss wanted to be in the movie,
Okay.
and he lobbied
Sorry, I love
Spielberg.
how the cop just doesn't stop pursuing the UFO and just careens off the cliff.
The stunt driver ended up in the hospital over that. Yeah, he
Oh,
was,
now I feel bad.
yeah, he was going too fast, and there was a spot where he was supposed to land.
Oh, so
and
that was
he-
real.
Yeah, he overshot it.
Oh my god.
And when he landed, even though he had a helmet and everything, he was still pretty badly injured.
no.
So yeah, you should be real proud of yourself.
Yeah, watch what you say.
Yeah, damn.
Damn, dog.
So
Damn,
so he had lobbied to be in the
Oh,
movie,
bitch.
and he his agent, I guess, made the offer and said Dreyfuss will do it. I remember 1977.
Mhm.
$500,000 and a couple points in the back end.
Damn.
And so they went through all of these other actors, and they finally, Pacino turned him down, and Hackman.
Queen turned him down. Yep.
Queen Hackman was like his wife. There was something going on, and he
I
said,
was about to say, because Hackman would have been good in this. role.
Hackman was going through either a divorce or something, or almost divorce, and he said,
Something
I
personal,
can't be
yeah.
on location somewhere for 16 weeks. It's not going to work.
or
But
else
they-
when I come back, she will be gone.
But they went to James Caan, though, and James Caan said, sure, I'll do it. I want points on the back end and $1 million.
Richard Dreyfuss, it is.
So Richard Dreyfuss got a phone call.
Well, with a sponsor like McDonald's, you think they could afford to pay
Yeah,
Khan's
yeah,
fee, but
you'd
whatever.
think so. You'd
And
think so.
Coca-Cola, my God. But okay, so here we get to the sort of the crux of the issue with this family. Richard Dreyfuss is alone, unfortunately, when he sees the UFOs. But he's with people he hasn't met yet because he almost
Right,
hits
yeah,
Barry in the middle
yeah.
of the street, and he's apologizing to her mom. And everybody who sees the UFO, for those of you who haven't seen this movie, they all form a bond in the sense that they all get the same
Yeah.
sensations, like they hear ringings in their ears and they see this image of a mountain.
Yeah.
And they don't know what it is, but
Which, isn't it amazing that in 1977, Devil's Tower was something that no one even knew existed?
well, when
Like-
you're talking
like-
about this, unless you learned about something in school, you didn't know about it back in 1977. Things were before the internet, really. If you just didn't learn about it in school and you weren't an avid reader, then there are things you just didn't know that seemed
Right.
pretty obvious.
Yeah,
Like-
but if it didn't happen at school or in your household,
Like
Right.
even Zach Braff was talking on his podcast how he has trouble figuring out when to use me and when to use I. And he was talking to Krista Miller, and he says, "What's that clever little rule that you have?" And she's like, "This is something we all know." And he was like, "No, I didn't learn this in school." It's like when you
What school did you go to?
yeah, it's like when you take the other person out of the sentence, it's a picture of me, not a picture of I. So that's a good rule
Yeah.
of thumb is you take the other, like Donald and I, or Donald and me. You have to figure out, without the
Oh,
other
see,
person, which would
Yeah.
you use.
Well, they always taught me that it was basically just pretend you're just saying it about yourself.
Exactly. No.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the
okay, that's
same
what you're saying.
concept.
Okay,
you,
yeah.
you remove the other person from the
Yeah,
sentence
yeah,
because you always
yeah.
start like Adam and
This
I
is
went
what you
here.
tuned in for.
Yes.
Grammar tips.
English major,
Yeah.
active in the house. But so I've got to ask you both. Jason, you have claimed to see a UFO, and Adam, you say you have friends who have seen
I have
them?
friends who saw a UFO which matched the one that
Yeah.
Jason saw, and then I have
Right.
other friends that saw a UFO which matched the one that both Jason and my other friends saw, which was weird.
Yeah.
So then this question is sort of applicable
Okay,
to you
okay.
and more applicable to you. Like, what did your wife say? Like, does she believe that you saw a UFO?
She believes I saw it. This was I saw this back in '98, so this was well before I had met her.
Okay.
And she believes that I saw something, and it's sort of like it's like seeing something. It's hard to explain. You don't know the significance of it until you see it,
Okay.
and then you see it, and you're like, "Wait, this isn't an abstract, weird thing in my head or something on TV.
right.
This is something I'm looking at right now
I
in
wasn't
front of
tripping.
me."
I was there.
Yeah, and it is. I think one of the things I like about this movie is because it does become, and there's lots of people out there that this has gone way too far. It becomes something of an obsession. When I go out at night, seriously, when I walk my dog, I look up at least once, and
Hi, Sid.
just like
Just double
God,
check.
I just no, and it's just I wish to God that same damn thing would just fly over one more time,
Right.
just so I could see it. I was lucky though because I did see it with a friend.
Yeah, you had a witness, but so for you, Mr. Brown, would your wife believe you if you went home and told her you saw a UFO?
I think so. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
if I obsessed and built mountains in the living room,
Yeah.
then she might have a little
She might be a little
problem with
pissed
that.
off,
You know,
yeah.
she'd be like, "Let go, just
Yeah.
let go, Luke."
Well, it's like anything else. If you get a question stuck in your head,
Mm-hmm.
there's certain people that those questions just, I mean, like I know people who have seen older folks. I know somebody who lived next to an air base back in the 50s, so he was always used to seeing planes flying over.
Damn my
And,
guns.
and he was out one day and he was looking at airplanes, and there was one airplane up in the sky, and it started doing stuff that airplanes can't do.
Yeah.
And
Sharks don't swim backwards. They can't.
and it's weird because
You'll see
like
when you watch Steve Lucy.
and Jaws 3.
Oh
that- 'cause
the
that shark
3D
goes backwards
opening.
all the
that's
time-
true.
all the time.
That one's like a damn helicopter. Yeah.
But no, but so he saw a UFO, and it's sort of like, to him, it just wasn't. It was like, yeah, I don't know what that was, but it definitely wasn't made by people, and that was
Okay.
it. That was the limit of his emotional
Well,
involvement. In
And some
it.
people can let that go. With this, they added that emotional element where like there's this cloak that's been thrown over the people who witnessed the UFO, and like I said, they have the ringing in their ears, like they hear different noises now, and they all visualize
Yeah.
the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's just stuck in their brain against their will, as opposed to them letting it get the better of
Yeah,
them.
and poor Richard Dreyfuss is being beat up by his wife so much.
I
over
know.
this.
Yeah.
So
I know.
much. There's a line that he uses later when he's with the other woman. It's like, "You're seeing this, right?"
Yeah.
He does it twice, and that's a great
Yeah.
line
Yeah.
because it's like, "Can you validate?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the part where, and again, for me, that's the weak part of the movie. And it's not that it's weak. It's just I don't like family arguing on film. 'Cause
Especially when the kids are
when
involved.
the kids
'cause,
are
like,
involved, it's like, oh, I'm going back in time. I don't like that. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a part where he's clearly something is wrong with him.
and
Something
he's
is
asking
wrong.
his wife for some
Yeah,
condolence.
and he just
yeah.
says, "Just put your arms around me. Just hold me."
That will help me.
That'll
You don't
help.
even know.
And
Like,
she won't do it.
yeah.
it's
Well,
like,
well,
damn.
I don't side with the wife, but I do see her point in the sense that they've got 3 very tiny children. The entire world is panicking because people are seeing these UFOs all across the globe, and it's not just something that. It's not like, oh, there's a monster under our bed. No, Timmy, no, there's not. Don't
Right,
worry
yeah.
about it. It's not something that she can just sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
She's struggling herself, and she's trying to keep her children from freaking out.
Yeah.
And she's trying to get the dad to kind of play along with her and be like, listen, if they
Yeah.
see you freaking out, they're going to freak out too. So
Yeah.
I kind of see your point. Like once he
Well,
starts freaking out.
It's like this whole duality of the hero's journey, because in the hero's journey, one of the first thing that happens is that normal is pushed aside.
Yeah.
Straczynski talks about flipping tables over.
Uh-huh.
So the aliens show up and they flip tables over, but she doesn't see the tables being flipped over. She just basically shows up and the tables are flipped over.
Right.
Let's put the tables back and put everything back on the tables and go back to normal. And it's a really great motivation. I mean, Terry Gard does a very good job of it.
Yeah.
It's well directed. Of course, everything in the movie is well directed.
Yeah.
Particularly the kid.
Yeah. The kids all do a great job in my
Yeah.
personal opinion, but it's just a whole problem with them because like you said, she doesn't see the tables being flipped. But
Right.
that's what I'm asking is like, if your wife didn't witness that, would you expect her to believe you if you and he's very manic in his approach. He wakes her up at 4 a.m. and he's shaking her and he's like, we gotta go see this. And he drags all the kids out of the house to go do it too. Which, I mean, you don't leave your kids at 4 a.m. in the house anyway, but he's like, we're going on an adventure. It's going to be awesome. And she's like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's 4 a.m. Come on.
See, my wife would be saying, "No, I'm not going out. We're not going out. What are you talking about?" No. Well, but no, I'm actually kind of used to that though, because I mean, most of my friends, I've had conversations with people who I don't know very well, but who have seen things, and they're like, "Yes, yes. Don't you just want to know what the fuck it was?" I'm like, "Yes." And then you talk to people who are friends and who haven't seen that, and they're like, "Well, that's interesting."
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thing.
Yeah, because it doesn't bother me that you've claimed to have seen a UFO. I believe you. Like,
Which I'm not saying was an alien. I'm just saying,
an unidentified
Something that
flying-
you did not
Yeah.
recognize as something normal.
yeah.
Right.
So it could be anything. But the fact, like when my friends first told me about it, I'm like, yeah, right. met a guy in college, described the exact same thing. I'm like, okay, I'm giving a little more credibility to it. And then Jason, person number 3, you know, the same thing.
yeah.
Suddenly I'm like, okay, what was this?
Well, and
Yeah.
I thought of you both when I saw this movie because they were describing the UFOs as looking like. Because at first I was like, God, Barry's an idiot because he sees the UFOs go zooming by and he goes, ice cream! And I was like,
Oh my
Daddy!
God, he's like a 4-year-old
I know,
kid.
but like it just, but no, but then later they take that validation away because Richard Dreyfuss is like, it was like a cone. No, it was like a shell, and his wife is like, what, like a taco shell? And it, so you never really figure out what the shape of the UFOs
Right,
are,
yeah.
and then they're all circles at the end, and you're just like, hold on.
Well, see what Spielberg was doing there, I think, I'm not going to mind read him, but I think what he
Do
was
it.
doing
Wildly speculative.
was basically going through the literature and saying, what are all the different UFOs that people claim to see? Let's just stick as many of those things that, you know, because that's one of the things people say. Yeah, it looks like an ice cream cone, it looks like a cigar, it looks like a sphere, you know. The scene in India, by the way, somewhere in this scene, I am led to believe is Jerry Garcia.
Really?
That's part of the lore of this movie is that Jerry Garcia is in this scene somewhere, and I don't know.
That's
I
kind of
can't
like the
find him.
Weird Science where they claim that Bill Paxton's like in a trench coat at the party at the end, but nobody's ever
Yeah.
been able to
Yeah,
verify
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, they're all over the world, and you have what are these? Are these guys the? You know, what kind of government are they with?
The novelization explains it,
Okay.
which back in the
So
old, back
the
in
novel came first, or there was
No,
a
no,
novelization
it was a
based on the
novelization
movie?
of the
Oh,
movie,
okay,
yeah.
got it.
and it's basically it's exactly what it sort of appears like. It's called Project Mayflower, I think, and it's a joint French-American project to try to make contact with UFOs.
Which that was another
And that-
confusing
yeah.
thing because the beginning I couldn't really understand any of the Spanish when they're yelling in the Mexican desert because like 5 guys are all yelling at Spanish
Yeah.
in Spanish at once and there's like a dust storm happening and they're dubbing the French but not the Spanish even though like the Spanish people are the first ones who
I mean, they're
show
subtitling the French.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Subtitling,
yeah.
Sorry, yeah. But you can understand what the French guy is saying, but I just even though I speak Spanish, I couldn't figure out what anybody was trying to say, even though they were trying to explain, oh, we found these mysterious aircraft in the middle of the desert.
This scene right here after the India scene, because most of this movie was actually
Parlez-vous
filmed. I know Truffaut's so good, and he died only like 7 years after this.
And here,
He was young when he died. This is actually an arena. Most of the movie was filmed in Alabama.
well, because they wanted suburban locations, but they were having trouble finding them. So,
Well, they needed a hangar
yeah,
to film the ending.
Yep.
And this is actually an arena in Alabama. The day before this movie was shot, Elvis Presley performed in that arena. The day,
Nuh-uh.
the day
That's
before.
awesome.
The day before, yeah.
Zoltan, come ready.
Zoltan.
I love this as a
Isn't that from
kid.
Big?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, Zoltar.
Zoltar.
I thought it was Zoltan. It said Zoltan on the.
No, from
we're-
Big.
we're talking about-
okay.
I want to be big.
Oh man, and you know what's impressive about Carrie Guffey? He had literally never acted before, like
Yeah.
nothing.
He,
I didn't realize that.
And I said this before, I think it was on the show last week. I might have just mentioned it between takes, but if you go on YouTube, there's a great interview with Carrie Guffey, grown up, and it's like, oh my God, that's the child actor that ended up okay because he did a few movies. And
Was this the same one we talked about on
that-
Volcano where his mom she wouldn't let him be on The Shining?
That's right.
Because he would go to school, go off for the summer and do a movie, but then
Yep.
go back and have a normal life.
Yep.
I didn't realize that was the same
Yep,
kid.
that's the same kid. Yeah. Kubrick wanted him for The Shining.
Yeah, that's what you
And-
were saying.
Yeah, and Guffey's parents said, no, that's a little too much.
See, I love that there's
Yeah.
at least one set of parents
I
out
know.
there that
They're
is.
the only ones.
They
They're the
provide
only
They
emotional
ones.
really
balance.
are. Yeah.
And
even-
he's got a wife, he's got kids, he's got a job. He's,
drug
you know,
addictions, no
he's
rehab,
got a
no-
bank account and a credit card and everything.
Whoa.
You know?
Whereas Macaulay Culkin, I think he's never
Yeah.
set up a checking account.
Yeah.
so-
Kodak Instamatic camera, by the way.
But,
Have you ever seen one of those before?
Yeah,
Okay,
come
yes.
on. KFC, back when it was still Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, so many
Yes.
big name sponsors in this. But yeah, Guffey apparently Spielberg would use like little tricks, and this is one of the things I didn't understand because you know how he yells ice cream when he sees it. At one point, he's yelling toys, toys when he sees the UFOs again. It's because Spielberg was off screen wrapping a present for him. So that's why he says toy because he was trying to make him
Yeah.
smile, and he had to use like tricks to get him to act certain ways.
Well, they
That's crazy.
The scene where Barry wakes up
Uh huh.
and he's like kind of taken aback because that's when all the toys start going.
Oh, the Toy Story nightmare that's going on in his
Carrie
room?
Guffey was actually asleep. And he's a 4-year-old kid.
They can sleep anywhere.
And he was asleep, and they put him in the bed, and they just let him sleep for a little while. And then basically they set up the shot.
And they woke him up.
And they woke him up.
Cool.
And like when you see him wake up, because he said in the interview, he says, you know, like I woke up and there's all these people around. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I saw Spielberg, and Spielberg's like, you know, okay, go
Time to
ahead.
start, yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And he started doing his lines.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You know?
Because he wakes up to utter chaos.
By the way, that's the scene where Dreyfuss supposedly screwed the line up.
That's amazing. But that is impressive about Barry because he does wake up to total chaos. They've got the toys. It's very much like Toy Story. All the toys are moving of their own volition because of they're reacting to.
I had like half the toys.
Oh,
like,
I'm sure.
There's like
that
one
scary monkey with the symbols. God,
never had the scary monkey.
I've always hated those.
Never
things.
had the scary monkey. My you know, I did have scary toys. My grandmother gave me because I don't know. She gave me a plush hobo.
Hobos used to be like a thing, though. Like there used to be
I
little
know.
porcelain figures of them,
Yeah.
and it's like, guys, it's homelessness. Why are we making these? Into toys?
Homelessness that rides trains.
Yes,
This is the difference.
yes.
You know, they travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had the little stick with the knapsack tied on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be in cartoons and everything.
I was home for my 40th birthday. My mom found the hobo doll.
No way.
And she's like, look what I found.
You're like,
And
why would you bring this nightmarish
I
thing?
literally screamed
God.
because she would put it on. I had a little chair next to my bed as a kid, and she would just prop it up on the bed, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, and this hobo had like a little cigar.
Oh my God.
Like,
That's horrifying.
oh my God, I hated it so much.
Hindsight is horrifying. I have a similar story because they used to have these dolls, and I think they were called like Little Tykes or something like that. And unfortunately for me, mine wasn't redheaded, but it had kind of freckles on its little face, and it was dressed in little
Did it have a
coveralls. And then Chucky came out in the theaters, and I was like, "Oh, I can't have this in my room anymore." I melted. I was like, "Dad, can you put this in the basement?" And he was like, "Why? You don't like it anymore?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, it's that doll movie, isn't it?" I was like, "Yes."
I'm telling you, people got to be careful what toys they give their kids because some of that shit will scar them. You know.
Oh yeah. And some kids like their creepy toys, and those kids, I'm convinced, are just possessed by the devil.
Watch
Yeah.
those kids.
They're gonna grow up to
Yeah.
be serial killers.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're gonna grow up to be Dexter. But
Come on, we all knew at least a couple kids we went to school with who ended up in jail.
yeah, more than a couple, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there you go. So yeah, now Richard Dreyfuss has gone out to try and spot the UFOs a second time, and his wife is begging him not to go. So you start to see their unhappiness. You know, the plants.
breakdown.
Well,
Yeah.
he's been has he been fired yet?
No.
I think
He
he
has-
gets
okay.
fired the next
Okay,
day.
okay.
Yeah.
Because there's still like power outages and like the mailboxes are dancing around and the railroad crossing flips out and Richard Dreyfuss's truck like blows up from the inside. Like so, the UFOs are causing a lot of weird reactions all over the place. Yet people are treating him like he's crazy. It's like these aren't just random phenomena; they're all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Everybody's witnessing this, and there's like a massive power outage.
I think that last scene though was to try to cast doubt
Yeah.
because there was it wasn't a UFO that they saw, it was a helicopter, it had similar lights, and he was
Right.
looking at the sign and the sign was waving back and forth. So I think that made him think a little bit, well, maybe I am going crazy.
Right.
But there are also little signs of affirmation where like you said, the little boy is building that shape that Richard Dreyfuss has been, because he sees it in his shaving cream, and he's like, and I've been seeing it in pillows and like on the walls and stuff.
And mashed potato, that's the best. The mashed potatoes.
Oh my God, I love that where one of the kids was like, I have a fly in my mashed potatoes, and the mom was like, it's okay.
That's well, you know, that was a real. The little girl, actually, when they were getting ready to roll, there was a dead fly in the mashed potatoes, and the little girl said, "There's a dead fly in my mashed potatoes," and everyone almost started laughing, and then Dreyfuss kept going,
Okay.
and so it ended up, you know, in the movie.
Well, and it's funny because I'm going to link this back to Mel Gibson since they were at the table together. How they all in Signs have the family breakdown together. He flips out, and then everybody just sort of comes together, and it's the same thing when they all start crying together at the dinner table. That was a rough scene for me to watch because it's like he hasn't even lost his children or his wife yet, but you can see that he's sowing complete insanity into his family.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to just get worse, and it's going to get worse. And meanwhile, what we know, but that the Neary family doesn't know, is that you've got all of these scientists who are saying, hey, this is real. Look, it's radio signals, and we just got this thing and its coordinates.
But they're hiding it from, the general populace, I
yeah.
guess, because they don't want to induce panic. But yeah, so that's part of the problem, is that nobody will confirm. No other grown-ups will really confirm besides Jillian that there are UFOs. So she becomes kind of his sole friend. And especially, has Barry been abducted yet?
No,
We haven't
not
seen
yet.
that yet, because this is a long-ass movie.
Let me ask you something, because I'm trying to figure out if this was cut from the special edition. Do you remember a scene where all the reporters were sitting around a conference table talking to the Air Force general?
No.
Oh, I bet I wonder if they cut that from the special edition.
If
That's
they
so
cut
weird.
Carl Weathers, who knows what else they cut.
And like
so.
where he's like, he holds up the picture of the UFO and he's like, he talks about how it's a fake.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm not recalling.
see that I wish
It may
Hollywood
just be that I
stop
don't
doing,
remember it.
Stop doing different versions of movies. Just make one movie.
And let it be, damn it.
Yeah, put the footage in it, and then there you go.
Yep.
Of course, Spielberg.
You know what I really wish was in this movie, though, is kind of like the guy from Airplane who's in the background while everybody's being serious and typing in numbers. There's a sale at Penny's. I wish there was some like comedic relief, because
Écoutez, there's a sale at Penny's.
this dress is horrible. Coffee, Jeffrey? No thanks.
One thing that this movie really, I think, laid the groundwork for is this was the first movie that Spielberg did where, for large portions of the movie, the actors weren't actually able to see what they were reacting to.
Okay.
And that would come around again in Jurassic Park, where Spielberg had already directed a movie before because in this movie, like Richard Dreyfuss, one of the things he said is that he wishes he could do some of the scenes over, because he says, I don't like the way I'm reacting. And if I had known what it was going to look like, I would have reacted differently.
Right.
Okay.
And in Jurassic Park, it was the same way, where you had
The first one where they had the animatrons and everything?
No, it was CG. There were animatronics in it, but it was a lot of CG. They had guys with big sticks with tennis balls on it.
Yeah, but
And
there
they
were so many more physical props, and I thought more of the dinosaurs were real in the first one.
No, there was
honestly.
well, I mean,
there was that huge mechanical T-Rex, and
it's fair to say, yeah, it's regarded as a CGI movie, but there's only like 4 or 5 minutes of CGI in it.
yeah,
But like the whole thing when
like when they see the brachiosaurs or whatever in the first part. Where
the T-Rex chase.
well, yeah,
That's CG.
must go faster.
whenever Ian's standing there, or whenever Alan is like waving the torch or the flare.
Oh no, that's Jeff Goldblum. Oh, they both do it. They both do it.
yeah.
You're right.
But they don't. There's nothing there. There's literally somebody just saying, "Look up here," and there's a dinosaur.
Oh, okay,
You know.
that makes sense. But yeah. So, Barry's about to get abducted. Oh, and that's the toys moment where Spielberg was trying to get him to smile, and since he had a present for him, he did. But
I wish we could play the music on our podcast,
that would be good.
because the music is just.
So another question that I have regarding the music: Barry is playing on his little play xylophone the same notes that the aliens are putting out there.
Yeah.
How did he figure that out because he was beamed by the light? Because the government people are doing the same thing.
No,
aren't they playing the same song?
The government got it from the people in India, and they got it from other people had told them,
Who had also
because the people in India
witnessed
were
the
singing
UFO.
it. Yeah, they were singing.
Oh, I didn't notice that because they
Where
were
did it
singing
come
instead
from?
of playing it.
Yeah.
And they all point straight up.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Okay.
Well, this is a little scary.
Yes,
I'd be a little uncomfortable with all of the damage that was happening around.
This is sort of where it becomes a disaster movie because the house starts shaking
Yeah.
and the aliens are
The
trying
washing machine flips out.
to. Yeah,
the
the
refrigerator.
stove turns on.
Well, and Melinda Dillon didn't know what was going to happen.
oh, so she's literally just reacting to all the different things.
Yeah,
that are going on.
they put her on the set, and she was legitimately like, things would happen behind her, and she would turn around.
Oh wow.
Oh man, this scene is just.
This is similar to Signs too, like when they're hiding in the pantry and you see the fingers come up underneath the door.
yeah.
Just these jump-tastic moments, really.
But this one's just so good about just you don't see. It's like Jaws, I mean, you don't see them.
Yeah, the shark isn't in the movie for that
Right.
much. Like,
Yeah.
It's all about the music and the ominous feeling that they build around it. So,
Yeah.
But there is a little homage to Jaws.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The music in the end.
Yeah.
When the aliens play the Jaws riff.
I did not even notice that. There was so much going on in this movie.
Yeah.
There's lots I didn't pick up on. But and Barry's a little creepy. He's a little. I can see why they wanted him for The Shining because he doesn't understand that this might be a lethal threat, and he's like, "Come inside,
Come in through the door. Come in through the door.
come in through the fireplace." Like, and the mom. Oh God,
This
that
is that
that was a suspenseful moment.
trying to
with-
close the flue
Yep.
because they're coming in.
Oh my God, that would have terrified me.
Yeah, it's such a perfect scary scene. I watched this once when I was in college. We were at the Catholic Student Center, which was we would hang out there all the time, and we were watching it one night. And the priest who was in charge of the parish there back then, he passed away since then. He was like he taught physics in high school, and he was a very science minded guy.
Okay.
And so we were watching this, and this scene, particularly this scene. Where the screws start to undo in the floor grate,
Yeah.
and we didn't realize that he had come in and he was watching it, and he's like, all of a sudden we just hear from behind us, "Holy fuck!"
That would be terrifying.
It's
There's
like,
only one thing I know that can do that: Satan.
yeah. I mean,
Could it be Satan?
and she just screams at him, "Go away!" Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I
Well,
wanted
that point-
I wanted to grab a screwdriver and
Yeah.
start trying to screw him back in again. That would have been.
And then,
That's the
and
one
then
thing-
the way Barry jumps, that little hop that he starts doing.
Oh God, that was so creepy.
Yeah.
She's doing her best. I mean, she's pulling furniture
Oh,
to
yeah.
like plug up holes in the floor and everything. She's fighting pretty well, and I think it's probably that mother instinct. If I was by myself, I would have just run, but as opposed to trying to barricade the flue and put all the stuff.
Where
on
do
top
you
of the
go though?
That's a good question.
I mean, oh yeah, in the phone,
Which is a rotary phone.
Yes,
For those of
yes.
you who are too young to know this, there used to be phones that had a little circle on them. No,
we
no
called
buttons.
it the wheel.
Yeah.
Yes, where you actually had to dial one number at a time by rotating the wheel, and it took forever. It was
Especially if
awful.
there were zeros in their number.
My
Oh my God,
parents'
yes.
phone number had a 0 in it. I remember as a kid.
It's like a typewriter.
Yeah.
Ding. Oh God.
But just imagine the sense of absolute helplessness
Right.
in
Powerless.
this scene. I mean, even before Barry goes out the door, before something is obviously pulling him,
yeah.
which is
Oh
just
my
like
God.
she's got his legs and something's pulling back.
Well, and I think that's also part of the problem with Richard Dreyfuss and his wife is the fact that most women expect their man to be a calming presence, a protective presence, but then he starts melting down, and she's like, "Well, shit, what's gonna happen if something actually does attack us?" Not that you ever really see her take the threat seriously, because she kind of up and leaves, takes the children to her sisters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would terrify just about any lady when
Oh, yeah.
crazy stuff is going on in the world. Meanwhile, your husband's having a freaking anxiety attack. So
This is another scene that I love.
Up.
This scene left a big impression on me because this is the scene where they're getting ready to go out to Devil's Tower, and so they're packing up all their super secret science stuff.
Super
But
secret science.
yeah, they've got all their
Say that 5 times
their
fast.
awesome Yamaha synthesizers. Which, by the way, the guy playing the synthesizer at the end of the movie is actually the guy that was sent to install the synthesizer.
Oh.
And Spielberg watched him, and he was setting it up, playing. And Spielberg was like, "That dude's perfect.
Hey kid, want to be in
You're
a movie?
in the movie."
Yeah.
Well, and
But
all
no,
these,
but what I was saying though is that in this scene they pack everything up into 18-wheelers, into tractor trailers, but they've got like Baskin Robbins written on the side and Piggly Wiggly.
yeah, they cover it up very cleverly.
Yeah, and it makes you think when you're out on the interstate and you're driving and you see a truck with oh, there goes another Publix truck.
See, you always wonder about that, because there's so many things that are so naturally planted in our lives. Like I was reading a detective book once where he was talking about those storage facilities where you can rent, a little unit. And he was like, God, if people only knew how many people died inside those things because they were locked in there by somebody. If people only knew. And so every time I see one now, I'm like, oh my God, is there a person locked in there just like melting?
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, it's always fascinating to think, what's the stuff that's right behind the curtain, just right behind the curtain. If you just look a little bit, oh my God, what is there that you're going to see?
And that's the Richard Dreyfuss portion. He wants to know what's behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what drives him.
The
whole
wife
film.
has no interest. She's fine with everything going back to normal, even though it's not going to.
I love I love this line.
This guy could have been Gene Hackman as well.
Yeah. What I need is something so scary it'll clear 300 square miles of every living Christian soul.
And I love that he specified Christian.
Yeah,
soul.
there's the Piggly Wiggly, Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
Baskin Robbins. Yeah. It's
Coke, Superman being thrown super hard into that Coke truck. But yeah, lots of good advertising for them.
We are coming up again on 30 minutes.
Break time.
So we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with you momentarily. And we're back.
Hooray!
Good to be back.
Come on.
Yes.
Been gone for so long.
So we have to go drink beers, and also this is a really long movie.
Yeah.
So what we're
movie
going to
took
do is
forever.
we're going to sort of skip ahead. I do just want to mention one thing that happened before Devil's Tower, which is the scene where Jillian is in the hotel room and she sees on TV, she sees the picture of Devil's Tower and she makes the connection.
She gets her validation. Yeah.
That wasn't originally in the movie either. Originally, she was basically supposed to just be hiding in her house,
Okay.
like barricading everything up. And Spielberg at the last minute was like, no, that's not her character. She's going to go look for her kid. So she's like going in the direction she thinks that the UFO went, hoping that she can find it.
Right.
When they did the set for the ending of the movie, the landing area, which was huge, it was bigger than a football field, massive. Spielberg brought Truffaut,
Okay.
thinking that Truffaut was going to be like, oh, he's going to be so impressed, by this incredible set that I've built. And Truffaut was like, yeah, nice.
Decent job.
Yeah. And then later on, they were filming the scene with Jillian in the hotel room, and Truffaut went into the room. And, Truffaut's, all of his movies are very small and intimate. And he walked into the hotel set and he was like, oh my God, this is a set.
Well, at least Spielberg got some validation.
Yeah, he did.
from
I was about to say that's funny
Yeah.
because you don't think of Spielberg ever being somebody with
Truffaut-
insufficient sets or insufficient anything.
Yeah.
He's just such a big, well-known director.
Well, if it wasn't for Jaws, this movie wouldn't be as big as it was. Jaws made a lot of money, so Spielberg could have a big budget movie
Yeah.
to follow it
Yeah.
up with.
Gave him some latitude.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
So they're at this man-built stadium that they've created to play music at the aliens to kind of figure out their language.
Well, no, it's the
The
aliens have been using music to
To
communicate.
communicate? Okay.
The idea is that music or math would be a universal language, and music is more cinematic.
And yeah, the numbers that they were seeing earlier, that they just weren't translating correctly, right?
Right.
Because they kept typing the same numbers over and over again, and it's like the aliens were.
Well, those are
really-
the coordinates.
Oh, that's right.
Those are the coordinates.
Because that one guy was like,
yeah.
I used to make maps, so
I know. Luckily,
Bob
he was.
Balaban.
Luckily,
Yes.
Bob was there.
Yeah.
and I love him. Is this a different person who's like, now that I get paid to speak
Yeah.
French, same guy? Okay,
That was him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was a
Yeah.
good line. I
Yeah.
like that.
Bob Balaban's great. He needs to be in more things, and he's been in a lot.
He has been in a lot. Yeah.
But no, they are at the alien landing zone.
I think he also was on Friends,
Probably.
unless
No,
I'm
I wouldn't be
mistaken.
surprised.
I'd have to look that up. How do you spell his last name? And I will look it up because you said
It's exactly how it sounds.
Bala.
because you said Melinda Dillon was on Friends, right?
No, Terry Garr.
Terry Garr was Phoebe's mom.
Yeah, Terry Garr. So Terry Garr is Phoebe's mom and Kimmy Schmidt's grandmother
Oh my goodness,
in the fan universe I'm inventing.
nice.
So no, but they built this set at an Air Force base in Alabama. It was just massive, and it was actually so big that it had its own weather system. Clouds would form in the ceiling, and so it was a huge problem. It was really, really difficult for them to film this. And Spielberg actually said, in Jaws, the thing that was terrible was the shark.
Right.
In this movie, this set was the shark.
Oh really?
It was such a nightmare to film on.
I was correct about Bob, by the way. He's
Well, he
Phoebe's
was-
dad.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah,
Okay.
He's Frank Buffet.
Well played. Well.
But he looks so different on that show because he's got really long, like stringy brown hair, and he kind of looks a little rougher, and he doesn't have
Yeah.
the facial hair really going on. So that's why it took me a minute to realize that was him.
I'm not used to him with facial hair.
I don't
I'm-
I don't know any
think
other
him
movie.
with little round glasses and
Yeah.
a clean-shaven face.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't recognize him. He looks so different with
He was
the
on
beard.
Seinfeld too, wasn't he?
Most likely. I wouldn't doubt it. But you said the set was the shark. Why was it difficult to work on, though? Like, is it work on, you mean like build it, or actually physically work on it when they got the actors out there?
It was both. It was incredibly difficult to build. It was also incredibly difficult to work on.
Okay.
And at one point, there was a storm that actually ripped one wall of the hangar off while everybody was in it. And yeah, Dreyfuss said the whole project went from being really, really fun to being genuinely kind of scary.
Yeah, a tad.
But
So is that our synthesizer
yeah,
guy that
that's
you're
the
talking
synth
about?
guy. Yeah,
Jason?
that's the synth guy. That's
what are
the-
you doing here? Did you go to Yale? No, I installed the equipment.
Yeah, he literally just Spielberg said, "You're it." I mean, how cool would that be?
It would be. Which,
You know?
speaking of Yale drama school, Meryl Streep was almost Richard Dreyfuss's wife in this project.
I could see
I'm
that.
trying to see why they didn't use her. 1 second, I can look it up in my show notes.
Now, the movie itself, when you get to this part, it's you either are the sort of person who finds aliens interesting and imagines what would that actual moment be like when we actually make contact with aliens, and if that's amazing and fantastic and awe-inspiring to you, this is a great scene. If not, I don't really know how. I mean,
Well, I think it just depends on, in an odd way, how much childlike wonder you still have left over. Because I was even watching The Golden Girls the other night, and Betty White thought that she saw a UFO zoom across the sky, and she was sitting out on their little patio with B. Arthur. And B. Arthur's, the serious school teacher, and so she was like, Rose, it had to have been something else. Come on. And Rose is like, but wouldn't it be nice just to consider the possibility? And that's the difference in perspective, because Rose, they always made her seem dumb, but she was really just childlike and just had that wonderment about her, which is what Barry has. He's a little kid, and so he doesn't have it in his head that, oh, this is dangerous, I shouldn't be doing this.
No
He's
preconceptions.
Like, he's just
Right.
curious.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, I think it just depends on your perspective, because a lot of people would panic if this really happened.
Well, yeah, and even though these people are, presumably in the profession of looking for UFOs, and
That's kind of what they supposedly do.
well, yeah, but you have to think none of them has ever actually seen one. All they've ever done is talk to people who have seen one, and now there it is right in front of them, and they think, okay, well, there are these 3 UFOs. Well, we made contact, we did it, we played the music, they played the music back. Yay!
And if they had read The
Yeah.
War of the Worlds, this could have gone terribly wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, see, and I like the fact that the movie never takes that turn.
Me
As
too.
it does in so many alien
Yeah.
movies. For
all of
instance,
them,
Yeah,
actually.
all of them, yeah,
except
all
for
of
this
them.
one.
because I don't know if they've since updated the ride again, but at Universal, I think it was, my parents took me on Extraterrestrial, the ride, and it had the alien, like from Alien. And they were like, oh, Jade, it's like E.T., it's an extraterrestrial. And it's actually one of the
Oh,
first
no.
experiences that they did was 4D, and the alien's sort of in this cylinder of
No, that was
glass.
Disney. That was Alien.
it Disney?
That was Alien
Okay.
Encounter at Disney.
Oh,
And
okay,
I
then-
totally remember that, and
But-
it was scary as hell.
Oh, but it was scary as
Yeah.
hell because it it hisses and
touches
spits
the back
and
of your
like they
neck,
spray
yeah.
water on you from your chair. Okay, so that was Disney, but my parents were explaining to me it's an extraterrestrial like ET. It's gonna be okay, and
yeah.
that is not what happened.
No.
My dad was like, "You were 5 years old, and I've never heard anybody scream that loud in my life." I was like, "That was." I have nightmares about that ride. It was awful. Ugh.
So when Spielberg, oh wait, by the way, the shot here with the clouds.
Yeah, what was that about? I didn't figure that one out.
What the way they did that, they took salt water and fresh water. So they put a layer of salt water down, and then a layer of fresh water on top of it, and then they squirted pigment into it. So the pigment floated through the fresh water, and then when it hit the salt water, it just stopped, and so you got that flat bottom
Interesting.
like the clouds. The spaceship, the mothership at the end. It was originally supposed to have a totally different look to it, and it was supposed to kind of just be like a big black shadowy thing.
Okay.
And Spielberg, when they were shooting the movie in India, he was driving by an oil refinery, and it was nighttime. And if you've ever seen an oil refinery at night, they're just lit up with a million lights.
Okay, I have.
And he said, he was like, "That's it. That's the
spaceship.
UFO. That's what I
That's
want."
what he wants.
drawing from real life.
Yeah. And the model that they made, which is actually at the Smithsonian, it's at the Udvar Hazy. And it's cool that they have it there because for years I always heard on the model, and people have always claimed to be able to see it. I can't. I've never spotted it. There's an R2-D2 on it. There's an Indiana Jones. There's something to do with Indy on it. There's a graveyard on it, and there's like airplanes and stuff stuck to the model that the model makers just sort of put on there. And it's cool because if you go and see it at the Smithsonian, you can actually see, oh, look, there's R2-D2. It is there.
Neat.
It's actually there.
Cool.
Going back to
Very
Meryl
cool.
Streep for 2 seconds, the reason why they went with Terry Garr instead of her is because Spielberg saw Terry Garr in a coffee commercial and saw how much emotional range she could go through in a 30-second period, and he was like, "That's our person. She's got to be the wife."
It's one of the things about Spielberg.
I like that.
Yeah, Spielberg can spot. He can spot really talented people.
Not just that, it's an even playing field for him. Like you said, when the guy came to install the synthesizer, he was like, "Oh, I don't even need to try anybody out. This is our guy." And he didn't know that guy from any other in the universe,
Right.
but he just sees the talent, like you
He
said.
would make
and
that shit work.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, because he can.
Yeah.
It's like the whole Courtney Cox thing getting pulled up on stage at that
Oh,
Bruce
right,
Springsteen
yeah.
concert.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody spotted that, and I'm just like, "Oh, she's talented. We got to do something."
She's
with
going
her.
to be something someday. She's
Yep.
going to go somewhere.
Yep. And I don't think directors really do that anymore. They try to stick with the talent that they know.
It's all formulaic. You know,
Yeah.
it's all, I mean, this is a movie that, again, we've said this before a million times on the show. It's a movie that they couldn't make today because if they made it today, it would be a different movie. It wouldn't have the same tone. It wouldn't have that sense of mystery. And it probably, you would have people saying like, well, we should have nuclear weapons there just in case the aliens are evil.
I was going to bring that
You
up because
know.
it's kind of like how Eddie Izzard said the reason why people went to go see Independence Day is because you see the White House explode and it's a big deal, but you don't need explosions to make a good alien movie.
Right.
Look at Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, this was not my favorite movie. Yeah. It was a little slow for me, but it still had good suspense and they didn't have any weapons. There was no big explosion,
No, there's no big
grenades,
explosions.
nothing.
No, it's a movie about people figuring something out. I mean, that's really it. There's no real bad guy in the
I
whole
didn't notice
movie.
that they kissed each other. I
Yeah.
missed that when I
Oh,
first watched.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I was surprised he left. He had such an opportunity there.
He had a built-in family to go back to.
It was plug and play.
Oh,
Well,
setting up franchises.
yeah, but she got a kid.
Yeah, but he already had 3, so that'd be even
Yeah,
less work for
they're
him,
out of the
so-
picture though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is
yeah.
that he's got a built-in family that he can just move into.
So ultimately, as we know, they make contact with the aliens, and the entire movie we've seen images of these people wearing orange sort of flight suit looking things.
And you don't know what their purpose is.
Yeah, you don't really know what their purpose is. And there's one line earlier on where some side character says, I think about what's in the future for these people, and it gives me white knuckles. And it's sort of like, okay, these guys are obviously, they're going to do something.
Yeah, something hazardous is in
Yeah.
their future.
And Roy, by virtue of being the only person who had these psychic visions, who made it all the way to the actual arrival of the aliens, he sort of proves himself, and Francois Truffaut,
Comes up with, what's
basically-
your blood type? What year were you born? Like, he starts,
basically says, okay, you need to be a part of this.
Mhm.
Right.
And Roy Scheider gets the chance to go on board an alien spaceship. And,
Roy Neary.
yeah, I said Roy
Not Roy
Scheider.
Scheider, very
Obviously,
different people.
He's back to
Yeah,
Jaws.
yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, Robert Shaw decides.
Yeah, I know.
Very different movie.
Yeah, just a tad. But yeah, so
But did all those other guys get in the aircraft?
I didn't
Yeah,
see that
they
either. So
did.
they
I-
left
yeah,
with
they
them?
did.
I thought they just took Richard.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's what I
no.
thought.
They you'll see them walk. They all walk out
Okay,
together.
all
Up,
right.
you
up,
know.
up. Yeah, they all gathered to go on their space mission because that's
After
one thing
after the Unitarian Church service.
It was funny.
But the aliens return everyone that they previously abducted, and that's what I was saying. It's so random. You
Yeah.
see women and children of all ages and one cocker spaniel, which okay. So
So yeah, R2's on there somewhere. Damned if I can see him.
I was about to say I can't
Yeah.
see it either.
But
But-
no, yeah, they do. They bring back, the Flight 19 people. They bring back. It's
But
not.
like-
I mean, it's not all of them, but they bring back a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I would have
From
liked to have seen a
years-
gladiator or something come out.
Yeah. That
would've been
something
sweet.
From like,
Yeah, because
Well, it looks like they return them about every 30 years because some of the people went missing in the 40s, right?
Yeah,
And it's now the
yeah,
70s.
yeah.
So maybe they just return them every so often. So
Well,
you're not going to see like Jesus.
I
I
think this is sort of like going back to the golden age of UFOs, and it's saying like, Kenneth Arnold, that was the beginning, that was the first time. So 40s, 50s, that's as far back as we're gonna go. The aliens, though, when they shot it, they there were so many different things that they considered doing for the primary alien at the end.
Yeah, because he looks different from the rest of them.
He
The
is.
rest
He's
of them
very. He's animatronic.
Yeah. He's very
and-
spindly.
Yeah,
I
and
thought,
all,
they sent the dog out first to sniff out the humans before the
Maybe.
kids came out. Yeah, because the one looked like a giant spider or something.
yeah, he does. He does. They named him Puck. That was the name of him, and everyone on set loved him because the face was very expressive. Like Truffaut would say hi to him every morning.
I love how they do
Yeah.
that. Like they named the shark Bruce and
Yeah.
Jaws, and
Yeah.
apparently this one's Puck.
Its
so
name
that's,
is Puck.
That's
yeah.
adorable.
But before they settled on that, and the little aliens are little kids, But before they had settled on that, one of the things they were going to do is they got mimes, and they put mimes in costumes, and they had mimes like walking around, and then Spielberg was going to like undercrank it, and the footage supposedly exists.
Oh
They
God,
sho-
we've got to find this.
I've never seen it. They shot it though, and Spielberg said, "No, that looks terrible."
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
the big alien,
I mean, they're mine. That's what do you expect?
for the big alien, they actually tried this. They got an orangutan,
Oh no.
and
Like
they
you.
put it on roller skates.
What?
And
Poor
they-
animal.
and but Spielberg said it didn't work because every time the orangutan would put its feet down, and it's
Yeah,
You
it
knew.
would just skitter all over the
and
place.
it would like panic and grab.
So wait, they put it on all four of its paws, or like just its feet?
I don't know if it was all four, just
Oh my
the
God,
feet, but
that would be so Scooby Doo. You know how like when he slides and
Yeah.
he just like
But
goes
just-
down the hallway.
just the
Oh my
fact that they
God.
actually tried it though.
That's I mean, it's creative. It's the packing peanut with Slimer all over again.
Yeah,
You're thinking outside the box as it
look at
were.
that.
so-
That's a technician for a synthesizer company.
And I'm sure he didn't even have to act that hard because being on a set like that would just be impressive enough
Yeah.
to be like, whoa.
They the other sort of odd things about it, Spielberg didn't want anyone to rip it off. And because he was afraid that there would be a made for TV ripoff before the movie came out.
Kind of like what happened to John Hughes.
So he kept the model of the mothership in his garage, and he didn't even edit first of all, the security on the set was so extreme. If you didn't have your ID card, you didn't come in. Period. Including Steven Spielberg, who showed up one day without his ID card, and they didn't let him in.
Oh, wow.
But he didn't edit the movie at the studio.
Okay.
He edited the movie in a hotel room with guards.
Wow. That's intense. Well, okay. So, Jason, since you've been a director before, let me ask you this. What level do you have to be on a set to keep certain props? Like, I know on like the Harry Potter movies, for instance.
Nowadays, you can't keep
you
any
can't
of
keep
it.
anything.
It's all collectible.
Okay, because I think Chris
Yeah.
Evans has his Iron Man, his Captain America shield. He actually just gifted it to a little boy who saved his little sister from a dogfight. So I
saw
think
that.
some people
Put it in their contract.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I know that Schwarzenegger wanted some of his costumes
Yeah.
for certain things.
Yeah, I think he kept the Iceman costume actually.
Yeah,
he kept something from Batman and
Freeze?
Robin.
He wanted the throne.
Mr. Freeze.
He
thank
wanted
you.
the throne.
The throne, yes.
From Batman and Robin. Yeah.
I don't think they let him have. No, Poison Ivy wanted her throne.
Yeah, that's right. You're
She
right.
wanted
That's
hers,
right.
and I think he wanted
Yeah,
his suit.
you're right.
I'm not sure if they let him have it though. But
And,
yeah,
and
so,
George Clooney wanted Uma Thurman.
And he got
no,
her.
he wanted the model.
Elle McPherson.
Elle McPherson. Yeah, he was like, I would have kept her because everybody wanted something, but that was what George wanted. So I didn't know if that was like a thing. Maybe back in the 70s, it was just a looser.
In the olden days, whenever like
the olden days.
Well, no,
when we
I'm-
churned our own butter.
well, nowadays, look, I mean, everything on a set is collected and it's collectible, and that means
Yeah,
that
they can make money off.
they
of
can
it.
make money off of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even to the point where like they, like they'll take back scripts. Because that was always the thing. Actors always had collections of all their old scripts and stuff, and it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, we need that back. It's
Because
collectible.
Carrie always actually gave a signed script of The Princess Bride to Chelsea Clinton. Because when he met the president years and years ago, his then fiance was like, "Oh, well, would Chelsea like it if Carrie signed a script and sent it to her because Bill was like, this is one of our favorite movies. He was like, Carrie, I could probably quote every single line because I've watched it with my daughter so much, and I want to see that movie where Bill Clinton is watching The Princess Bride and just quoting it.
Totally naked.
With a saxophone and a beanbag chair.
Beanbag chair.
Oh my God. Hollywood,
As
make
you
it so.
wish.
Oh.
As you wish.
Oh my God. Hey man,
As
I
you
liked your
wish.
movie. And now Jason will get this joke. Hey man, I like your button. Because we need to talk about that a little bit
Yes.
before we leave.
Yes.
So Hindsiders.
Well, let's.
Okay, we can wrap up the
Oh,
movie
did you
and-
see the subtitle actually said "Spacecraft plays main theme from Jaws"?
Yes. That's
Really?
How I caught
Yeah,
it.
it
No, I
actually
didn't.
said it.
I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Oh, sorry. You went
And
out
then,
of
and
focus
then at
there.
the end they play "When You Wish Upon a Star," which I thought
The-
was a bit
Yeah.
much. But
Well,
Well,
there was a guy
unless
whistling it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually the inspiration for the movie. Was that was like Spielberg's whole the whole mood
Oh,
behind it.
that's why they bring up Pinocchio when
Yeah.
he's debating on what they want to do for the
Yeah,
weekend. Oh,
and
okay, that
and
makes sense.
the original closing music was literally "When You Wish Upon a Star,"
Right.
and
That's
it
right.
it just didn't work. So they
Friends.
John Williams incorporated it into his music. So he interpolated it, but it was originally just the music. That was
Okay.
it. I want to see. Have we missed J. Allen Hynek yet? I wonder if I wasn't.
we gotta find him.
I have no idea.
I know he's coming up
Guy
soon.
with
Richard
the
Dreyfuss is so
pipe.
young in this movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Well, I mean,
True.
when I first started seeing his movies, I think actually the first Dreyfuss movie I ever saw was
What about
Mr. Holland's
Bob? Oh,
Opus.
Mr. Holland's Opus.
Mr. Holland's old.
And what's
Yeah.
that one
Mr.
that you...
Holland's old penis.
I love Dallas. Oh, Linda. But yeah, so I watched Jaws a little bit later in life. It's still like single digits, but I saw
Enough
Mr.
to
Holland.
scare you though, or scar you.
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
When we were at the beach this past week, oh no, I was not having it because the water was really murky and you couldn't see anything. And I was like, I'm not getting in that
It
water.
sticks with you.
It does.
really
yeah,
does.
it really does.
Especially when you watch as many shark attack videos as I do, because I've got.
I don't know
an
why you.
obsession
I
with
don't know why you watch shark attack videos.
It's not not full on attack, but like close call kind of videos where like a shark will come out of nowhere and somebody maybe prods it with
Right,
their
right.
fishing line or whatever. So yeah, so I was surprised when at first there's a ton of people that come off the UFO.
Well,
Which is-
I think they try to lead you to believe that these are the aliens, right? And then
Yeah.
you get a closer look, and it's oh no, they're humans.
Yeah,
And they're all
It's like,
from
what
the
hell
past.
is this?
Yeah.
And none of them have aged. So
Yeah.
you wonder what's going on there. And maybe
'Cause
that was.
Einstein was right.
I think Einstein might have been one of them.
Yeah,
But maybe that was a gesture of goodwill to show that, hey, we did abduct all these people, but here they are. You can have them back now.
I think so actually.
And then that's what
Oh, wait.
motivated.
Wait, hang on. I just
You bump something.
yeah.
What'd you do?
Well, no, I was gonna fast forward, but
It's okay. We've
we
pretty
go.
much talked it
Yeah.
out through this movie, but yeah, you find the guys from the aircraft and like the ships and stuff that they discovered earlier in the movie that just appeared out of nowhere in the different deserts of the world, like in Mongolia and Mexico.
right, the
And-
Cotopaxi, which was a real ship. There
Was
he
it?
is. Yep, there. That's J. Allen Hynek.
Okay.
That was the guy in charge of the
Oh,
government's
nice.
actual UFO investigation.
Oh.
Got the pipe.
Yeah,
Didn't know
Very,
that.
very well done.
that's a cool nod.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the movie. Let's.
Yeah, that's pretty much. And then Richard Dreyfuss joins them on their next expedition.
Yeah.
He goes
Yeah.
willfully as opposed to being abducted.
Yeah,
With-
and he's
with a team.
and it's he's gonna go and God, I mean, you can only imagine what that's gonna be like.
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
he's and now for the first time, these people aren't being abducted; they're being invited,
Yes,
and they're choosing.
That's
to
what
go.
I'm saying. Is
and
that
it's really it's really cool.
it was that gesture of goodwill, saying like, "Look, they're safe. No matter what, we weren't harming them. I don't know what they
Yeah.
were doing with all of the
Yeah.
people on their ship, but no, won't Richard Dreyfuss's wife feel stupid?
Oh, yeah.
when they drop his ass back off on Earth.
She's
30
like
years from now.
she's like all old.
She's like,
Right.
damn it, and he's young.
He visits her in the nursing home.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ah!
damn! He's gonna have such a
I
great
ain't changing
moment.
your diapers.
So anyway,
The
you know,
dog.
I don't
Barry
really.
comes back.
Barry.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Was that fun on that ship, Other Barry? It sure was, Other Barry.
He hasn't even aged a minute since he left with them, right?
And he's only been gone for like,
Right.
I want to say a week.
Yeah,
so,
something like
no,
that.
he's fine.
So we can't really do Alf to Seinfeld because you haven't seen it before.
I've never seen it, so it would be a 5 for me. Just
And
because
it honestly, it's a 5 for me too because I like it as much as I always did.
okay.
So
Well, you saw it when you were younger, Mr. Brown. So what about you?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it then, and I enjoyed it again when I saw it. I did. It was good. I didn't remember a lot of the details, and when I saw it this recently, it refreshed a lot of them. And
Okay.
it was great.
yeah, it's definitely
Awesome.
a movie that if you casually watch it, you know what it was about. But because as a kid, I'd seen it several times, and then as an adult, you watch it and it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
You know,
So is that a 5 from you then?
A 5,
Adam?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
we're-
5 for
We're
me,
sticking.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, straight 5s across the board. I don't think we do that very often.
and I think most of Spielberg's movies, my hunch is that most of them will end up being a 5. Like Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones. I loved it.
Yeah, you
I
can't
loved
perfect anything about
it.
it.
Yeah, it's
And I've seen those so
Yeah.
many times. Jaws now I hadn't seen as many times as like Jurassic Park, because Jurassic Park, that was one of the first movies I ever remember seeing in a movie theater, because it came out in what, 93? So I was pretty young when that movie came out.
Thereabouts.
Yeah, I was in 8th grade, so I don't.
But it was so
Thereabouts, yeah.
wildly impressive that it just stuck in my little mind, and I remembered every little bit of it, like the raptors breathing against the glass and just
Yeah.
everything. Oh, and we'll probably be doing that movie in the near future.
Remember when Spielberg made awesome movies?
Yeah.
Like the best movies.
And it was that whole Kevin Costner, Burt Reynolds thing. Oh, Spielberg made it? Let's go see it, because you knew it was going to be a guaranteed.
See, I'm not like that anymore. Ready Player One, I didn't go see it.
Was that the one with the spacecrafts and like the kid going
The
through
video games.
Okay, I think I saw that. And see,
Exact-
there
yeah,
you
so
go.
there you
It
go,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's a Spielberg movie. And
That doesn't mean
didn't
anything
even,
to me
Didn't even
anymore.
go see it.
Yeah, and that
Bridge of
saddens me.
Spies.
I didn't see Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies
but
had Tom
I've heard
Hanks.
you talk about it
I
too, so it
didn't
must
go
be
see
good.
it.
Really?
Like,
No, a friend of mine was in it, so I had to see it.
was it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, Tom Hanks, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the few actors that, and I don't go see every single one of his movies, especially after Larry Crown, but he pretty much is a heavy hitter for me too. Tom
yeah,
Hanks, like
yeah.
if he comes out with something, I'll probably go see it.
There's Puck.
Oh,
Puck!
This is the skinny
Wait,
one.
spindly
This-
little
this
alien.
No one's going to be
alien.
able to see Puck because it's too blurry.
Yeah,
out
he's
on the
too
camera.
skinny.
Yeah.
But
He's basically Kate Moss. He needs to eat a sandwich.
it was a big deal though. Like
Twiggy.
the fact that he could smile at Truffaut, like whenever he does the hand thing and then he smiles. It's,
Yep. Because they sort of reach out and gesture at each other, and
Well, what's on tap for next week?
Deep Blue
Sea.
Deep Blue Sea.
Hell
Very
yes.
nice.
Because we are
movie
transitioning from Disaster Month, which we didn't really end with a disaster movie, but we also had They Live this month, so we mostly did disaster
one cares.
movies. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But next month, we will be focusing on Animal Disaster Month, and we are kicking it off with Tom Jane, Samuel L. Jackson, Rennie Harlan, and Anne Heche in Deep Blue Sea, and Stellan Skarsgård.
I'm gonna warn you. I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Oh, it's magnificent.
Well, wait. Here's the warning part because I know how much you love Tom Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it a long time ago and I really liked it.
You're not sure how that's going
So,
to change.
There's a real risk,
Oh, I'm sure that'll make for great entertainment on the podcast.
I'm hoping it doesn't though. I'm hoping I still love it.
I mean, after you guys eviscerated me on Robin Hood, I think I've got my chops now, so I think I'll survive. And young Adam will be joining us in the studio next week to record that,
excellent,
so we'll have an
excellent.
extra face in the studio. I think his exact words were, "Get me the hell away from my parents for a little while." So, because some
Because
people
we
are
are still in a pandemic, believe it or not.
believe it or not.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go drink.
Hold on.
Oh.
Community and John Mulaney. So we
Well,
finally.
We both watched them, but that's a whole conversation.
Okay,
I think we
fine.
should tease that.
We can maybe do a short or something on it later.
Yeah. We did a cultural exchange.
We finally browbeat Jason into watching John Mulaney.
And someone has watched a couple of episodes of Community.
This gal.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that next week.
But for now, we've got to go drink some beers.
Yes.
So thank you once again, as always, for joining us for your drive time, your listening time, your reading time, whatever time. We don't care what time. We just appreciate you tuning in. So be ready for this fun new episode. Adam, as always, thank you for being here.
Love being here. See you
And
next time.
We'll see you next week, Hindsiders.